So the system is in a state where it is blacked out and all of the breakers at the Everett station are open. So I'm first going to bring on the Everett 2 unit in res or isochronous mode. Now if I brought this unit on in manual or in LFC, it would try to respect the unit's operating minimums. So you can see it has a minimum of 160. Now when I bring a unit on in res, I don't have to give it a set point. For one, it will disregard this unit operating minimum. And two, you don't need to give it a set point because it's going to go wherever it needs to maintain frequency at 60 Hertz. So I can see here, when I brought this on, the breaker to provide power to the station service load was closed. So I can see the unit is online at about 4.1 megawatts and frequency is 60. So I'm going to bring the Everett Unit 1 on in manual. If I bring this unit on in manual, I do need to give it a set point. Now the other thing that I need to watch out for is in this instance, this unit minimum of 160 is far too great because I don't actually have 160 megawatts of load available for the unit to supply, so all I'm going to get is high frequency. So if I bring it on right now, I'll bring the Everett Unit 1 on. Now it will have the 4 megawatts of station service load to supply, but with this unit in manual, I'll just continue to see my frequency rise because the power doesn't have anywhere to go, so all it's going to do is cause the unit to spin faster. So I can see my frequency 60.1, almost up to 60.2, and I go, uh-oh. So the first thing I need to do is we're going to reduce our unit minimum to 0, and we're going to put our set point at about 4 megawatts, and we'll do that. We'll do that first, and we'll have to allow our frequency to ramp back down. Now let's say I wanted to tie these units across breaker 16. I would go to my synchroscope, I right-click on the breaker, and I can see I have two different islands with a very high delta for frequency. So I see my needle is spinning, but as my frequency of my Everett Unit 1 comes down, or my Everett 1 island, as that comes down to about 60, I'll see my needle spin more slowly. So when you're going to tie units together, you'll need to first of all make sure that you have enough of a difference. Let's see, we'll bump this one up just a little bit. I'll put this at 4.1. And then when the needle gets to the top, which might take a minute because our frequency is so closely matched, then we'll tie them together. I'm actually going to raise. So on my res unit, my isochronous unit, I can actually tell it to regulate at a frequency slightly higher than 60. So I'm going to put it at 60.01 just for the purpose of getting these units close enough to tie. Man, I'm screwing up my examples today. So I raised the speed on my Everett 2 island ever so slightly, just enough to get the needle spinning so that we can come around to the top. Now when you're synchronizing islands, it doesn't really matter which way the synchroscope rotates, particularly since these are very tiny islands. If I hit reverse, it simply changes the direction, and now when I get to the top, I can hit close, and even though it takes a few seconds, there we go, we're closed and tied in together. So that was a little bit about synchronizing very small islands, as well as bringing units online. These skills will be important if you're synchronizing a unit to the grid to ensure that it's at the proper frequency and it's at the proper loading. This concludes the video for the generating units in Cascadia and their modes of control.